Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are discuss about the project which is stock movement analysis based on social media sentiments. So let's begin. Here in this project, I have created a script folder which contains all the script files with extension .ipynb. .ipynb is the extension of Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so in this script folder, our first file is stockscrapper.ipynb. Stockscrapper.ipynb is the essential file of this stock movement prediction project. It essentially collects the data from Reddit. So let's begin by importing the important libraries like pandas, datetime, and prov. Prov is a Python Reddit API wrapper which is used to interact with the Reddit API. Okay, to set an Reddit API, we need client ID, client secret. So to get this client ID and client secret, we have to come to this reddit.com website and click on Are you a developer? Create an app. Here you have to initialize your name of the project, which in my case I have stock movement analysis, and here you have to click a script because we are creating a script, and here you have to give a redirect URL, which is very important. Okay, so create app. So after clicking on create app, here you will get a client ID. This is your client ID and this is your client secret. Okay, now this print Reddit API connection reddit.read only will print output as true if this connection is successful. So as you see that our output is true, means our connection is successful with Reddit API. Okay, so our next step is, next we are creating a function that takes Reddit object, subreddit name, start date, end date, and post limit is equals to 1000. And we are initializing the limit that the post limit is equals to 1000 only. Okay, and we are creating an empty list cold posts which stores the extracted data. Okay, so then we are creating a loop which extracts only new post in the subreddits, and it check the post date, that on which date that post is created, and if that post date is lie between the start date and the end date. If it does, then we extract the key details like title, ID, author, created UTC, score, upvote ratio, num comments, URL, self text, and then storing them in a dictionary and appending them into a posts list. And finally we convert the list of dictionaries into a pandas data frame for easy manipulation and analysis. Then we have created a function which handles multiple subreddits. We calculate the start date and end date based on the number of months to scrap, and created an empty data frame that is initialized to store data from all subreddits. For each subreddit, we call a function, scrap subreddit function, and print the progress. The data for each subreddit is appended to a combined data frame, and then finally we are returning the combined data frame that containing all the subreddits. Now here we are defining the subreddits to scrap like stocks, investing, Wall Street bets, and the time range of 6 months, and maximum post per subreddit is 1000. And then we call the multiple subreddit function to start the scrapping process and store them in the scrapped data. So now as you can see that our data is scrapped. So now to store this scrapped data, so we will create a data folder here. So after creating a data folder, now we will make an output file, and we will give the output file name is Reddit stock data, which I would store in the data folder. So now to store that scrapped data, so first of all we convert it into to CSV, and we will give the output file name. Then this will store the data in the output file in the data folder. As now you can see in the data folder we have Reddit stock data.csv. Here is that file. So now our last line is to check that how much data is scrapped. So now we will run this file to see that how much data is scrapped. So our total data scrapped is 2364, which was stored in the Reddit stock data.csv file. So this is our first stockscrapper.ipynb file. Now as we have scrapped the data and stored it in the Reddit stock data.csv, we will use this CSV file for analysis. For analysis, we have create a data analysis file in the script folder. This file performs three major tasks: analyzing sentiments, classifying it into labels like positive or negative, and extracting stock ticker symbols. We start by importing essential libraries like pandas, regular expression, and sentiment intensity analyzer from Vader Sentiment. Next, we load the Reddit data from a CSV file into pandas data frame. Now in next two lines of code, we convert the created UTC column to a datetime format and extract only the date part from it. This step is very helpful for grouping post by day later in the analysis. Next, we initialize the Vader Sentiment Analyzer, which is a pre-trained tool specially turned for social media and news content. It provides a compound score representing the overall sentiment of a text. Next, we define a function that takes a text input, checking for missing values, and calculate the sentiment score using the analyzer. Then we apply the analyze sentiments function to the self-text column, which contains the body of each Reddit post. The resulting sentiment scores are stored in the new column called sentiment. Next, we define a function to classify the sentiment scores. Positive scores are above 0.05 are labeled as positive, scores below minus 0.05 as negative, and rest as neutral. Then we apply the classification function to the sentiment scores and store the resulting labels in the new column called sentiment label. Now we create a function extract tickers that identifies stock tickers in the post body using regular expression. The pattern matches the sequence of 2 to 5 capital letters, which are common ticker formats. Then we apply the extract tickers function to the self-text and store the extracted tickers in the new column called tickers. And finally, the processed data including sentiment scores, labels, and tickers are saved in the new CSV file, that is analyze_stock_data.csv in the data folder. This script is a crucial step in a project. It transforms raw Reddit posts into a structured data, enabling us to dive insights from sentiment analysis and stock ticker mentions. This processed data will help us to build more accurate models for stock movement prediction. Now after processed the data and saved in the analyzed stock data.csv, now we have to create a new script, that is data preparation, because the stock market is heavily influenced by public sentiment and discussions, especially in online communities like Reddit. To make informed predictions, we need to connect social sentiment with actual stock performance. Now for that, I have created a new file in the script folder, that is data preparation. This file bridges the gap by merging sentiment analyzed Reddit data with historical stock prices, providing a data set enriched with both social and financial features. So let's start. Start by importing the necessary libraries like pandas, datetime, and yfinance. Yfinance for fetching stock data. Next, we load the sentiment analyzed Reddit data into a pandas data frame. We ensure that data only column is converted into a proper datetime format for merging with stock data later. Then we define a function named fetch stock data that takes a list of stock tickers, a start date, and an end date. It will retrieve historical stock price data for the given tickers. Then we start a loop and use the yfinance.download method to fetch the stock data for each ticker. This function prints the progress message for each ticker. For non-empty data, we add metadata like the ticker symbol and a date-only column extracted from the index, which represent the date of the stock data. Then we standardize the column names for consistency and rename the date-related column to date-only for merging compatibility. If no data is fetched for a ticker, then the script logs a message indicating that no data found. After the loop, all the fetched stock data is combined into a single data frame. This helps in processing data from multiple tickers together. We ensure that the date-only column in the combined stock data is in the datetime format. If not found, a warning will print. Here we are specify the tickers and a date range of 6 months. And then we are calling a fetch stock data function to retrieve the stock data. Then we are checking that date only column is there in the combined stock data or not. If it's there, then it print that date only column found in the stock data, else it print date only column not found in the stock data. Now both the Reddit and the stock data are reset to have a clean index, and we perform an inner merge on date only column to combine the date based on matching dates. And here finally the unnecessary columns are dropped from the merged data. And the resulting dataset is saved in a new CSV file, that is stock sentiment combined data.csv, for model training. These scripts integrate Reddit sentiment data with stock price data by matching them on dates. The resulting dataset provides rich features for training machine learning models to predict stock movement. Now we make a new file in the script folder, that is model training. In this script, we are training a machine learning model to predict stock movements based on both sentiment and historical stock price data. Let's dive into the code now. First, we import essential libraries that include pandas, sklearn, standard scaler, random forest classifier, and joblib. Then we load our combined dataset that containing sentiment and stock data. Then we drop irrelevant columns like post, title, ID, and other columns that are not useful for training the model. After removing irrelevant columns, then we will check the shape of the data. Then we fill any missing values in our dataset with the columns mean to ensure that the model has complete data to work with. This prevents error during the training. Here, the target variable is labeled as up if the closing price is higher than the opening price for the stock. Otherwise, it's down. This binary classification will be the focus of our prediction. Here we define a list of important features such as adjusted close, high, low, and volume for various stocks. If any of these features are missing, then the script exits. Here we separate the feature X from the target Y. Now here we are checking the shape of the feature X and the target Y. Next, we standardize the feature data to ensure that all variables are on the same scale, which is important for the performance of machine learning models. Now here we are splitting the data into training and testing sets. 80% of the data is used for the training and the remaining 20% is reserved for evaluating the model performance. We use the grid search CV to find out the best hyperparameters for the random forest classifier. This step optimizes the model performance by testing different configurations and selecting the best one. After training, we predict stock movements on the test data and evaluate the model using metrics like accuracy, precision, and recall. These help us to measure how well the model is performing. And also, we are generating a detailed classification report and confusion metrics to visualize the model's performance across all classes. Here, we are using cross-validation to ensure that the model generalizes well on unseen data by evaluating it across multiple subsets of the dataset. Finally, we save the trained model and scaler to files in the models folder so that they can be loaded later for prediction without retraining. With this training process, we have built a robust machine learning model that optimized to predict stock movements using both sentiment and historical data. This marks a significant step in our project.